Good Monday morning to you, and welcome back to the Faith and Formation Podcast. It is Monday, October 27th. Hard to believe October is almost over. And if you're coming to Temple, you're part of our church, this is our first weekday of the fall revival. And so hopefully Sunday was a blessing to you yesterday. And come back tonight and be a part of our revival on Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. Come out and be a part. But either way, thanks for being a part of the podcast here this morning. And our devotional this morning is coming from 1 Kings chapter 9, 1 Kings 9. And our title for the devotional this morning is Cause and Effect. Cause and Effect, I think a concept that many of us are familiar with. And we'll look at that here this morning. But before we get there, let's go ahead and look at our memory verse this morning. It comes from Proverbs 27 and verse 2. It says, "There let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips." Proverbs 27, verse 2. All right, cause and effect, looking at 1 Kings chapter 9, and really have two topic theme verses. Usually it's just one, but two here this morning. I'll read verse 4 and 5 of chapter 9. Pull it up here real quick. Verse 4 and 5 of chapter 9, it says there, "And if thou wilt walk before me, as David thy father walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded thee, and wilt keep my statutes and my judgments, then I will establish the throne of thy kingdom upon Israel forever, as I promised to David thy father, saying, there shall not fail thee a man upon the throne of Israel." So these are a couple verses here that we're going to talk about here this morning, cause and effect. As I look in this passage, I see a conditional statement, you might say. A promise given conditionally. Christ here says he'll establish the throne of thy kingdom. Of course, he's talking to Solomon here. Upon Israel forever, as I promised to David thy father. He's telling him that he promises all these, he's going to establish his throne. But right before that, in verse 4, he gives an if statement, like a conditional statement. "And if thou wilt walk before me as David thy father walked, integrity of heart, in uprightness, to do according to that the Lord has commanded him." All these are conditional statements that he gives, and then the kingdom will be established, the throne will be established there in verse 5. I say a conditional statement. You know, we learn in school and other places about this rule, this law, right, of cause and effect. That if something happens, it's going to cause something else to happen, right? Or you could say also the reverse is true. If you see something has happened, then something caused that, right? Does that make sense? Your actions are going to have an effect on something. But then also, if you see an effect, that means there was some kind of cause. They're paired, they're related. If you're standing in your house at night, maybe you're sitting on a chair somewhere and you hear a noise in a different room. Immediately, you kind of go on high alert, right? Because, well, that noise had to be caused by something, right? And so then if you hear a random noise in the house somewhere where it shouldn't be, all of a sudden you're very alerted because it's more than just a noise. It means that somebody or something has moved something or dropped something or whatever it is. Something caused that. Nothing happened on its own. Cause and effect, right? And I think that's really the idea that's presented here, is that if Christ or God is talking to Solomon, and he's saying, if you will follow my ways, if you'll follow my judgments and my word, really, if you do that, my commandments, then I'll establish the throne of thy kingdom upon Israel forever. Then I will do that. It's an if-then statement. And so here we have the effect being a blessed kingdom and the cause of that being obedience to God. And the application, the correlation to our life really is very simple. It's very easy to understand, very simple. And that really is, do we want a blessed life? This idea applies to us as well. And God tells us in his word that we ought to love him with all of our heart, soul, mind, strength. That's our greatest commandment. That's what he wants us to do. And then that blessing can follow that. We see here that if Solomon obeyed all the commandments and judgments and such that God gave him, then the blessing would follow. And the same is in our life. If we first obey, do what we know God's word tells us to do, we do those things, then the effect of that will be blessing from him. It applies in our life as well. And, the opposite also is true. If you continue on and read down the passage into verse 6, but if ye shall at all turn from following me, ye or your children, and will not keep my commandments and my statutes, which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship then will I cut off Israel out of the land which I have given them, and this house which I have hallowed for my name. I will cast out of my sight, and Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. So here God promises the opposite as well. He says, hey, you obey, blessing. Don't obey, cursing, essentially. And he tells me he's going to cut off Israel, the place that he had, or the people that he had made his own. And Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. Man, what a phrase. What a phrase, saying that, hey, you're going to be nothing more than just a short story that people tell each other if you neglect to obey my word. And the same is true for us. Who's the one person that's going to remember everything that you do? It's not your friends. It's not your parents or your grandparents or your kids or your grandkids. Not any of those people. They're not going to remember everything that you've done. There's only one person that will. That's God. That's God. So we should seek to please him and receive blessing from him. That's truly what's going to last. And that's not always easy to do in the moment. We have the desire to do other things and draws us away in the moment. But understanding that pleasing him is going to reap the most benefits, is going to please him the most, will give us blessing in the end. That's an understanding we need to have. And if we can keep that in our minds, then it will help us as decisions come along and we can choose the correct path, obeying God's commandments. And this concept's not hard to understand, right? I mean, cause and effect is a very easy concept, but like so many things, easy to understand and hard to carry out. In the day-to-day grind of things in life, when decisions come up and you can either choose to obey those commandments or not, that's when the test really comes about. That's when the test really is there. Easy to understand. We can know what's right, but then that action of doing it is what's hard sometimes. And that's where we have to know God's word and his commandments, have it in the forefront of our mind. That way it always is coming up when these decisions come along. Oh, we know what to do. We know what's right. We know what's correct. And then it's just up to us to make that decision to do what's right. All right, well, that was our devotional this morning from 1 Kings chapter 9. Hopefully that was a blessing to you. As you go to prayer this morning with your devotions, we want to make sure to spend a little extra time praying for the lost. There are many, many people that are around us that are lost. We want to lift them up to God this morning and ask God to use you. And I'll ask God to use me to witness to someone and to bring someone to Christ. And I believe God will bless that. If you ask in a sincere spirit, I believe God will bless that. And then for our teenagers, we want to pray for Ariana, especially this morning. All right, thanks again for joining us in the Faith and Formation podcast and our devotional here from 1 Kings chapter 9. And hopefully you have a great rest of your Monday and a great rest of your week as well. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.